Hi, my name is Savannah Hooker and I'm a mortgage lender based out of Chicago. And I want to share some tips for anyone that's interested in getting their first home, refinancing their home, or just looking to learn more about mortgages in general. Here's kind of a step-by-step on what you can do to kind of prepare ahead of time, what the mortgage process looks like getting you pre-approved, and then again, after you have your offer submitted on your first home, what the mortgage process looks like during the transaction. So really the best things that you can do before you get pre-approved to kind of prepare yourself is going to be keeping a pulse on your credit score. I can't tell you how many times I have buyers try to get pre-approved and in their head they think their credit score is 700, 800. We pull their credit and it comes back at 620. So one thing that I highly recommend is taking a look at the free credit resources available to you. Some popular ones are Credit Karma. Sometimes you have them offered through your banking app. So I will say, this is kind of a catch-22 because these scores are not accurate compared to what we see on our end when we actually do a hard credit inquiry to see what your credit scores are. But what they can do is tell you what things are negatively impacting your credit. So if you take a look at Credit Karma, it's going to break down if there's any derogatory marks on your credit and maybe tell you if you're late on a bill, if you have some outstanding medical debt or credit card debt you need to take care of. I would highly recommend taking a look at that first because credit is often what takes the longest to repair before you get pre-approved. And having a good credit score can not only open more options for your different types of financing, whether it's a home buyer grant or getting approved for a conventional mortgage versus FHA, but it can also impact the quality of your interest rate. So the better your credit score, the better the interest rate. The next thing that I would do is kind of try and nail down what your non-negotiables are and what your budget is. So when my husband and I bought, especially if you're buying with someone, take some time to sit down and say, what are our priorities and where are we kind of flexible? So definitely nail down location, size of the home, because those are two things that you can't really change. And then from there, talk about your wants and your needs. But starting there and then working backwards to kind of nail down a budget, what are you comfortable spending every single month on your mortgage? And then also, what kind of savings do you have allocated for your down payment and your closing costs is really important because you might have more money than you need to put the minimum down on your house, but you want to have that conversation ahead of time to know where you're most comfortable, again, every single month, and then also with your closing costs. Whether you're connected with a mortgage lender or a real estate agent first, I don't think there's kind of a right answer to that. Oftentimes I have clients referred to me from realtors and people go to a real estate agent before they talk to a mortgage lender. And typically, the realtor is gonna have an initial conversation about the process and then send you over to a mortgage lender to nail down the finances. But at this point, I feel like getting pre-approved is the best next step. And really there's kind of, again, three major things that we take a look at to determine not only your pre-approval budget, but also whether or not you are qualified to buy a house. And the three things are income, credit, and assets. So that's why I mentioned, taking a look at those three things ahead of time, kind of getting your ducks in a row is, very beneficial. But yeah, the pre-approval process, at least when I work with clients, sometimes I have to I have a time window or a time crunch that I'm kind of trying to stick to with my clients. So sometimes people reach out, hey, Savannah, I went to this open house this weekend. I want to submit an offer and by the end of today, can you help me? Definitely possible. I would typically say, the sooner you're starting the process, the better. But if you do need a pre-approval in as little as like a couple hours, not impossible. And a lot of times people ask me, what's the soonest I should get pre-approved? So your pre-approval letter is going to be good for 120 days. Typically, we want to identify a property within 90 days and then leave like 30 days for the window between being under contract and closing. But even if you're starting, sooner, like let's say you're interested in buying a house in the next year or two, starting the pre-approval process now, just having the conversation with your trusted mortgage lender and then also your real estate agent and kind of coming up with a game plan is never a bad thing. So to recap, getting pre-approved, it's never too soon to start. You can get pre-approved in as little as a couple hours if necessary, but it's a lot more stressful that way. I feel like creating a game plan a couple months out is usually the best case scenario. And then from there, once you're pre-approved, the best way that your mortgage lender can be involved and continue supporting you while you're starting to look at properties with your realtor and submitting offers is going to be running numbers for you as you identify properties that you're interested in. So once you find an address of a property that you are considering submitting an offer on, I think it's always a great idea, and I encourage my clients to send me the address so I can run a couple different financing options with different down payments so they can see how does that affect my monthly payment, how does that affect my closing costs, and am I comfortable with spending the amount of money that's going to cost me on this property. And then from there, hopefully submit your offer, get that accepted, and then like I mentioned earlier, typically that's about a 30 to 45 day window between when your offer is accepted and when you have the keys in your hand on closing day. And between that period, your lender is going to be reaching out to you to get updated documents, refining any details about the association on the property, things like that. If you're looking to get pre-approved or you're considering purchasing in the next year or two, feel free to reach out to me via email, text, call, and let's start creating your game plan to get you pre-approved and set you up for success.